For the last 6 months, I've been spending almost every spare dollar I earn building a business that currently makes exactly $0. Most people would probably look at this and think it's stupid. And honestly, there's been times where I've thought the same. I'm 20 years old, I work as a landscaper, and every week I put a big chunk of my paycheck towards a travel app that hasn't even launched yet. No investors, no team, just me trying to figure things out as I go. The app is called Zenvoy and I plan to launch it this year. I have absolutely no idea if it's going to succeed, but I do know one thing. If it does work, I want there to be proof of what it took to get there. And if it completely fails, I think there's lessons in that too. This is a series documenting everything. The wins, the pivots, the stress, the excitement, everything. Documented here as a series. Before I get into the business side of things, I should probably introduce myself. My name's Ali, I'm 20 years old. I live in Australia. I work as a landscaper currently, but ever since I was 14 years old, I knew I wanted to build something of my own. I didn't necessarily know what it would be, I just knew I wanted to create something that people used, and something that solved the problem, something that existed because I decided to build it. I think that's why business interested me. Not because of the money, obviously money matters, but it's because I love the idea of creating something out of absolutely nothing. Taking an idea that only exists in your head and making it real. Something that people can interact with, something that provides value, that has always fascinated me. One of the questions I get asked sometimes is, why don't I just go all in? And to be honest, I've done that. I did that last year and I wasn't prepared. I didn't really know what I was doing and I ended up just losing a lot of money. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot of lessons and I made lots of mistakes. Not having that consistent income really slowed things down. I couldn't do as much as I wanted to. I couldn't reach the level that I wanted to just because I was restricted by budget. It works for some people, but for me personally now, it doesn't make sense to do it all over again. At least not yet. I think sometimes social media creates this idea that as entrepreneurs you need to quit your job, go all in. Having been there and done that, there's always the chance that you lose everything. It is a really inspiring story. For the risk now, I don't think it's worth it for me personally where I am. At the start, and even now, I still don't really want to take out loans or I don't want to have to borrow money. I didn't want to have to put myself in a position where I was forced to make decisions out of desperation. Because to be honest, desperation rarely leads to good decisions. Working full-time gives me something really valuable, and that's time. I know it sounds backwards because technically I have less time, but what it gives me is the ability to think clearly. I'm not building under pressure to make rent the next month. I'm not building because I have investors demanding results. I'm building because I genuinely believe in the product, and that changes everything. At the moment, the business is basically a machine that consumes money. Every month money goes in, but nothing comes out. That's one of the realities of building software. For a long time you're investing something and getting nothing in return. You have to believe in the future outcome and keep going. My biggest problem. One of the biggest problems that slowed me down wasn't money, it wasn't a lack of knowledge, it was me. I had a serious case of what people call shiny object syndrome. Every week I had a new business idea, and every week I convinced myself that the new business idea was the one. I thought I was being productive, I thought I was being entrepreneurial, but looking back, I wasn't building a business, I was just collecting ideas. One week I wanted to start drop shipping. The next week I wanted to start building websites. The week after that I wanted to do Facebook ads. And the week after that, I wanted to start a clothing brand. And then something else and something else. Every idea felt amazing for about 2 weeks. And reality would hit, the excitement would disappear, and a new idea would come along. A better idea, one better than the next, one more achievable. Until it wasn't. And the cycle continued for quite a while, I'm not gonna lie. Some of the ideas were actually pretty good if they were executed right. The problem was I never stayed with them long enough to find out. I was addicted to starting, not finishing. And I think a lot of people can fall into that trap. Starting is exciting, finishing is hard, and executing is boring. Consistency isn't easy, but that's where the results come from. I got tired of repeating the same cycle, and I knew if I wanted to build something real, I had to commit. Not for a week, not for a month, years if necessary. So Zenvoy has had many iterations. The first one was actually a travel PDF. I wanted to help travelers pack for trips based on preferences and location. The idea was simple: build it once and sell it forever. But after speaking with people around me and getting feedback, I discovered that it was solving a problem. It just wasn't solving a problem big enough. There was potential for something larger. So I started exploring what that could look like, and eventually I came to software, and software opens a completely new world of possibilities. Once I started building the app, I thought I had everything figured out. AI was huge, travel was huge, people needed itineraries. Perfect, you know? Except it wasn't. The more I looked into the market, the more competitors I found. Some of these companies had huge budgets, teams, years of development, and very polished products, as well as communities behind them. And if I'm being realistic, their products were a whole lot better than mine. At first, this was really discouraging. I thought I was too late. I thought it missed out. I thought the ship had sailed. Maybe someone had already won. Maybe there wasn't room for another player, a smaller player like me. For a while, I genuinely considered quitting. I couldn't find anything that worked. And when I finally did, it was completely engulfed. It was saturated. And I didn't want to give up because I didn't like the idea. I just didn't really see how I could compete. Then I had a conversation with a couple of business owners that changed everything. It shifted my perspective 100%. They said, if people are already succeeding in a market, it's proof that customers exist. It sounds obvious looking back at it, but it changed everything, fully. Competition isn't always a bad sign. Sometimes it's validation. The problem wasn't the market. The problem was that I was trying to be everything to everyone. I was too broad. I needed to niche down, and I really needed to be specific. Something that competitors weren't focusing on. And that's when I started looking deeper. The Zenvoy idea. I asked myself one question. Where do people actually find travel inspiration? And the answer was obvious. YouTube. Before people usually book a trip, they watch creators explore destinations. They look at travel itineraries, places to get food, activities, travel guides. The inspiration starts there. Then I realized something else. Once the video ends, the user has to do all of the work. They have to remember location, they have to search on maps, they have to search for bookings, hotels, flights. They have to build their own itinerary. There's a lot to it, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So I thought, what if you could simply save the video and then let an app do all the heavy lifting? What if you could literally watch the video, then do the video? That became the mission, and that's what Zenvoy is. What happens next? Right now, there's a lot in the air. I've got people testing the app. However, it's not launched yet. Revenue is 0. I've got users, but they're not paying for it as they're testing. There's still problems here and there that are getting fixed. There are still things keeping me awake at night. But for the first time in a long time, I have something worth committing to. Something that truly has inspired me to go above and beyond. And that's why I'm documenting this journey. Not because I have all the answers. I want people to see what building a business is actually like. Not the highlight reel, the real version. The setbacks, the mistakes, the lessons, the uncertainty. Everything. So if you want to follow a 20-year-old Australian trying to build something real and working full-time, please follow along. I'd love to have you on the journey with me. This is only episode 1. The next episode will explain exactly how I'm building Zenvoy, what's going into it, what software I'm using, a step-by-step guide basically on how to build an app yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you on the next one.